afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. I'm Club President Charles McClymans, and it's great to see such a lively crowd here on such a beautiful day. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is being sponsored by Michael Richmond and Claire Richmond of the law firm Richmond & Richmond. Claire and Michael joined our club last year, and I'm their sponsor. Glad to have sponsored them. Their law firm provides professional solutions to complex litigation, bankruptcy cases, and business disputes. We thank them for sponsoring today's meeting. There are pens on the table too, and Claire wanted me to tell you that when you push it out, there's a wax tip on the end. So they're actually good. You just have to take the wax tip off. So thank you, Michael and Claire. Please remain standing for today's opening music. Nick Curran will lead us in singing the national anthem with Elaine Mishler on the keyboard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, and today's moment of gratitude is going to be provided by Laura Gallagher. Come on up, Laura. Laura's been a member of our club for 8 years. She owns the Creative Company. Laura will come up and provide the moment of gratitude.
I almost lost my homework there. So in 1989, I started the Creative Company, a public relations and marketing firm serving leading nonprofits and social impact companies. 1989 is also the same year that the Council on Legislation voted to admit women into Rotary worldwide, a milestone that marked a more inclusive era for the club. A year earlier, in 1988, was the first time a woman could get a business loan without a man's signature. They were getting them, but they could still be denied for that reason. One of the things that's easy to forget when you're in the club is that membership has its privileges. I'm thankful for the women and men in this club who made it possible for me to be here, and that we're continuing to make the club more inclusive. As one who started her company on a shoestring and a prayer at a very young age, I can tell you that the company we keep matters. I've spent most of my life advocating for other women and marginalized groups. My Rotary membership has been a crucial part of this journey, providing me with a platform and a network of like-minded individuals who share my passion for social change. Through Rotary, I've gained access to a network of leaders and decision makers in Madison and the surrounding area, and actually throughout the world. This empowerment has allowed me to affect positive change for our clients and their stakeholders. I've learned from the podium and the person next to me about how to pave a way when there seemingly is no way. And you've all inspired me to continue to push boundaries. When I consider the gifts of Rotary, they include sharing a meal with others, as you're doing today, and singing together. I also enjoy the consistent friendship, support, and encouragement from my friends at Rotary. Through the fellowship groups and my volunteer work here, I've had a lot of fun too. Whether performing Girl from Ipanema with Jeff Burkhart or enjoying a new culinary experience at one of Madison's best restaurants through that fellowship group, I've enjoyed making memories with my fellow Rotarians. We even hosted a lovely nighttime dinner on the rooftop of Creative Company last year. But one of the best gifts, Jane, one of the best gifts is meeting my Rotary Scholar mentee, Dylan Rogers. 2 years ago, I decided to sign up, and if you look at the screen, you can see that's me and Dylan working together, and those are Dylan's illustrations. So I decided to sign up to be a mentor, and I didn't know what to expect, but I felt I had something to offer. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined what happened next. Dylan is studying at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. They just finished their sophomore year. I hired Dylan for a summer internship, and they spent last summer following me as I renovated a house, and then we wrote a book about it. And so that book will be out soon. It's called Home Again. If you look at the screens again, a restoration story, and it'll be released later this year. Dylan also did, yay, Dylan also did the illustrations for One City Schools enrollment campaign on behalf of Creative Company that won a National Marcom Award. Yeah. So Rotary is about lifting each other's up, lifting others up, lifting each other up. 10 years of Rotary membership has brought me more than I could have dreamt or imagined. I'm thankful for each of you and glad to be growing and learning together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. I'm glad you brought Dylan with you today, and thank you to you and your team once again for working with us on the messaging framework. You'll see the table tents on your table on how to talk about Rotary, how we connect, grow, and serve. So thank you once again for making that possible. And what did I forget? Guest introductions, right? I was so eager to move on to gratitude that I blew past it. So here comes our Sergeant at Arms, Dewey Bradison, will now introduce our guests.
Please stand when I say your name and remain standing until all the guests have been introduced, and we'll recognize everyone as a group. Sanford DeWitt, guest of Brian Anderson. Laura Fitzgerald, guest of Rob Ringenson. John Green, guest of Wes Sparkman. Andy Josephson, guest of the program committee. Liana Luce Austin, guest of the program committee. Sharon Moore, guest of Rhonda Adams. Dana Pelabon, guest of Linda Ketchum. Dylan Rogers, guest of Laura Gallagher. Ralph Rousseau, guest of Ted Dede. Abar Silva, guest of Peter Covey. Brittany Washington, guest of Alan Robinson. And we have a visiting Rotarian from India, Anup Karanek, who has a banner to exchange. If you could come up. And those are our guests, so we can applaud them while he comes up, and then...
Some of you may remember Sharon Moore from the River Food Pantry. She is the lead volunteer of the River Food Pantry. She puts in about 40 hours a week as a volunteer at the River Food Pantry. We honored her back in 2019 with a Senior Service Award, so it's great to have you back with us again today, Sharon. And past President Paul Hoffman will come up. We have another service award, and he will introduce that.
Thank you, President Charles. Wow, it's great to be back up at the podium and see the room again. Thank you, everybody. Fantastic. The club just keeps getting better and better under your leadership, Charles, so fantastic. Congratulations for that. And I'm here today to introduce a member of our 2024 Rotary Club of Madison Club Service Award. This recognition is part of our Avenues of Service Awards program, which recognizes members for their efforts on behalf of our Rotary Club in one of the 5 avenues of service, which are club, community, international, vocational, and youth. Janine O'Rourke has been a Rotarian since 2008. She started with the Fitchburg-Verona Rotary Club and joined our club in 2018. In her 6 years with us, she has been involved in a number of areas. She has served on our community projects, international, caring, and Rotaract advisory committees, and is also a mentor to a Rotary Scholar. In addition, she has taken the lead in overseeing the Rotary Youth Exchange Program, something very close to my heart, and both within our club and within our district. You can't get more involved than Janine has been. Fantastic. And she has volunteered countless hours attending training sessions, meeting students and their families, participating in interviews, and working with high school counselors. It's a big commitment, and she makes sure it all runs smoothly. For Janine's dedicated service, we are naming her with a 2024 Rotary Club of Madison Club Service Award. The club has made a $200 gift in her name to the Rotary International Foundation as part of this recognition. And I asked Janine to come forward so that President Charles can present her with her certificate and a special pin to recognize her with the award as we offer her our congratulations. Thank you, Janine. Fantastic.
Yep, thank you. Fantastic. Good job. Thank you. Okay, we have the Rotary International Foundation campaign. Would Gary Tree please come up?
Thank you, President Charles. Some of you may remember Coach Healy's presentation several years ago. She shared some of her techniques and styles she uses to coach the UW women's softball team into the best record in UW history. I'll never forget her sharing her young daughter in Little League, standing in the batter's box and watching as the third strike was called. Coach Healy, in a pleading voice, was saying, "Just swing. Just go for it. You never know what might happen." Coach Healy encouraged her players to fail brilliantly, mess up big, she would say. Then she would praise their effort, not their results, and encourage them to try again, a new style of coaching. You see, she taught her team that the best hitters fail 6 out of 10 times at the plate. She also encouraged her team to dream big, as in NCAA championship, and challenged them. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. The team dreamed about an NCAA championship and they set it as a goal. They made it. This was part of Coach Healy's teaching style as she sought to influence 18-year-olds to make good decisions. You see, her livelihood depended upon those 18-year-olds making good decisions. Her record after 14 years at UW proves her style was good. Obviously, Coach Healy's presentation left some lasting impact upon me. I'd encourage you to watch the videos. You can see them on our YouTube. However, I think her most profound comment was, well, let's watch a short, I hope this to be a video, but it turned out to be just audio. So let's listen to Coach Healy for just a few minutes.
And when you take on these things, one thing that we say to our team, and I put the quote up there, is just know your why. If you have a big enough why, if there's a big enough reason driving you, you're going to find a way how. And we say that to our team all the time. And, you know, especially when something's going wrong. Well, what's driving you? Why are you getting up? Why are you working out? Why are you putting in all this extra time? And I'm sure I'm sitting in a room with a lot of people with very strong whys. that you really are very in tune with what you are trying to do in life and what you're trying to accomplish. So I'm sure this is tough for all of you to get here for lunchtime. And you're rushing around and you're busy and you're doing all of this, but your why must be that strong that you can take time out of your schedule and probably make this day a lot longer than your normal Wednesday to try to do something that's very important to you.
So this begs the question, as we consider this fundraising campaign, what is your why? Hi, my name is Gary Tree. I'm the chair for our annual Rotary International Foundation RIF fundraising campaign. This is one of 2 annual campaigns that our club runs. Funds raised in this campaign support the RIF. The money given is returned to our district. It is then deployed through district grants, which match 100% of the club's money. And it is also deployed during global grants, which receive a match from our district and an 80% match from the Rotary International Foundation for a 180% return. This campaign is intended to give us access to these funds. As of 4/13, we've raised $33,340 from 78 donations. So thank you. This is great news. We can do better. Our goal is $45,000. Please note that you'll receive Paul Harris points. There are some matching points available. And I just request that you continue to give generously. Next week, I want to tease you a little bit. We're going to expand on our why, and I hope to show you some videos next week. Thank you for your generous giving.
Gary, thank you for that very positive message. And again, we're trying to average $100 per member. That's what we're trying to get to. So please give as generously as you can. All right, I have a couple of announcements. On June 5th, we'll hold our club's annual Rotary Vocational Fellowship Luncheon at 11 Rotarian businesses. That's one of the dates where the Park Hotel cannot accommodate us. So the deadline to sign up for one of those luncheons is on Friday. So please, if you haven't done that, please do so. There's a lot of great options. And another reminder that on June 12th, we also will not be here. We have the honor of hosting President Gordon McAnally we will be meeting at the Marriott Hotel for a Rotary meeting in Middleton. And I hope you will all show up for that. Sign up. We need to sign up by the end of this month, by May 28th, 2 weeks in advance. So please sign up for that, and remember to wear your Rotary pins. Remember I said I would fine people if they're not wearing their Rotary pins, so wear your Rotary pins. No, I'm just kidding. But it's going to be fun. I had the opportunity to meet him, and he's a great storyteller, and I think you will really enjoy meeting him. Okay, on to birthdays. We have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor and wisdom that complement Rotary's mission, and we ask our celebrants to contribute to our Synergy Scholarship Fund. On May 12th is John Everett. May 14th, Ben Blagoji. May 15th, Alan Carlson. May 15th, Deborah Cronmiller. The 15th, Alan Ebert. Also the 15th, Walt Stewart. And the 18th is Frank Weinhold. Thanks to all of our celebrants for their contributions, and we will now sing Happy Birthday. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Rotarians, happy birthday to you. Great. Okay, for the President's Spotlight today, I have 2 things that I'd like to call out. Lou Harned. Lou, you were doing some volunteering recently, weren't you? Part of your 99th year birthday tour. Lou was volunteering, spent an afternoon at the River Food Pantry with Rhonda and Sharon over here, and there were some great photos. I don't know if we got the photos, but that's great, Lou. Thank you for all of your service and all of your volunteering. I'd also like to give a shout out to Bob Sorge. I don't know if Bob is here today, but many of you may have seen that the Goodman Foundation made a $5 million gift. The Goodmans, yes, they were members of our club as well. They made a $5 million gift to the Madison Community Foundation to establish a new nonprofit resource center in Madison, which is huge. It's going to be, that Dane County has one of the largest populations of not-for-profits in the country, And so it's going to be a tremendous resource for the entire area where nonprofit leaders and employees can go to learn, research, and grow in their business. So congrats to Bob and the Community Foundation. All right. Craig, I think I'm going to get you on early today, so you might get to do a few more minutes of your presentation. Onto our program. Today's speaker is Dr. Craig Atwood, who received his bachelor and graduate degrees from the University of Western Australia in Perth. He's held positions at the National Cancer Institute, Harvard Medical School, Case Western Reserve University, and is currently a professor in the Department of Medicine at UW-Madison. Today, Dr. Atwood will provide a brief overview of how sex hormones regulate aging and how the dysregulation of hormone balance at menopause in women and andropause in men leads to the development of age-related diseases. With this knowledge, he will explore the best strategies to restore hormone balance so that we can live to 150. Believe it or not. See, Lou, you're going to keep going to 150, Lou. Did you hear that? You're going to go to 150, Lou. We will have Q&A afterwards, time permitting, so let's welcome Dr. Craig Atwood to the podium.
Okay. Thanks, Charles, for that introduction, and thanks for the invitation to be here. It's lovely. Oh, it's lovely to be here. There you go. You can hear my accent now, right? So, okay, I'm going to start the presentation off with. Okay, thank you. Going to start the presentation off with a question. So, what do these four things have in common? AI, quantum computing, nuclear fusion, and living to 150.
Promises of science.
Yeah, in a way, absolutely, yeah. So they were all, inconceivable 50 years ago, right? But we're living in an age where things are moving very rapidly. And it's not a matter of if we're going to live to 150 in the future, it's a matter of when. The science and the technology is there. And my research and JangoBio have been working on therapies to move that forward. And when I talk about living to 150, I don't mean in a wheelchair. I mean living just as you are today, a healthy, full life, okay? So I'm going to set the stage here with a video, and then we'll dive into the nuts and bolts of what it's going to take to get to 150 years of age. Imagine if you could run a marathon like you did when you were 25. Imagine being able to go to your great-great-granddaughter's wedding. Imagine having the companionship of your beloved pet for life. Just imagine all the things you could do if you could live a healthier life longer. Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Atwood, founder and CEO of JangoBio, a biotechnology company based out of Madison, Wisconsin. We are developing a revolutionary stem cell therapy to restore hormones back to youthful levels. This therapy is designed to improve our health, delay the onset of age-related diseases, and increase longevity. The thought of living well into your hundreds in good health may seem hard to imagine, but our disruptive technology is a game changer because it gets at the root cause of aging. JangoBio is using the science of aging to develop regenerative medicines to improve your health and well-being and increase lifespan. Our journey started in the early 2000s when we recognized that sex hormones, which promote our growth and development early in life, later fall out of balance and signal our natural cycle of decline. These hormonal changes are what we know as menopause in women and andropause in men, and they cause the degeneration of our tissues, leading to disease and ultimately our death. One example of how impactful these hormonal changes are on longevity can be seen with the life cycle of Pacific salmon. As you know, salmon swim upstream to spawn, and after this one seminal reproductive event, their hormone levels go dramatically out of balance, and they die within a matter of weeks. With this understanding of the aging process, we have developed stem cell products in the form of organoids that act like mini organs to increase our circulating hormones back to youthful levels. This has multiple advantages over current hormone replacement therapies because a cell-based therapy can restore the more than 50 sex hormones required for tissue health, while current therapies can only replace 1 or 2 of these hormones. This is a truly personalized medicine approach to restoring hormone balance, as each individual requires a different level of hormones for optimal health, and is something only a cell therapy can provide. Another advantage is that our injectable therapy is a long-term solution that does not require constant applications. We can stop hot flashes, insomnia, lack of energy, weight gain, and depression, as well as prevent diseases of aging like Alzheimer's disease and other diseases for which we have no cure. The market for this technology is tremendous, as it applies to every human as well as all of our pets. We hope that you can see our vision for a healthier and longer life. Okay, so that provides a synopsis of what I'm going to talk about today. So if you wish to doze off, feel free, okay? You've got the main message from that video. Okay, so historically, human longevity has increased from around 40 to 45 years of age all the way up to a little over 80 years of age around the year 2010. And this is, of course, due to improvements in medications, surgeries, hygiene. But recently, in the last decade or so, there has been a tapering off of this linear increase, and particularly in the United States. It's starting to taper off in other countries of the world, but not nearly so like it is in the United States. So we've tapped out at about 79 years of age. And if this was even before COVID came along, where you can see there's been quite a dip in the overall longevity. A lot of people died during COVID. So in order to really be able to get that next decade, 2 decades, 5 decades, we can no longer really rely on the current advances in medicine. We've sort of reached our limit there to a certain degree. So we have to be able to understand what it is that's driving the aging process. And my research and many other researchers around the world believe that aging is really driven by our hormones. And these hormones are our reproductive hormones or our sex hormones, okay? So these are the hormones that are produced by the ovaries and the testes throughout our life. These are the hormones that drive our growth and development early in life in order for us to become a reproductive adult. They're also the same hormones that regulate our reproduction during that portion of our life. But these hormones, when they become dysregulated at menopause and andropause, are also the hormones that are taking us out of the gene pool, essentially. And they do this by leading to the degeneration of our tissues, eventually the failure of a tissue, the presentation clinically with a disease, and ultimately our death. And what we term this, the medical term for this is hypergonadism. So let's just take the female scenario as an example. Here is a plot of follicles in the ovary of women very early on in life, and you can see that there's a gradual decline every single month, losing follicles until you hit about 50 years of age and there are no ovarian follicles remaining. The reason that this is so devastating is because these are the structures that produce the estrogens and the progestogens and all the other hormones that are present in your body that normally maintain tissue health. And so when this happens, you can see we go from this yellow area here this cyclical change in hormones during normal menstrual cycles between 15 to 45 years of age, to all of a sudden the loss of these hormones, the ovarian hormones, but the elevation in these gonadotropin hormones, LH, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, gonadotropin releasing hormone. And so you end up with this very dysregulated axis. Something similar happens with men. And you can see here, it starts even earlier in guys. So we get it worse, okay? Did I say something wrong? Every year, starting at age 30, we lose about 1 to 2% of our testosterone levels. And girls, you probably already know that, right? And so these hormones decline, and of course the gonadotropins increase as well. So what's the big deal with this hormone balance? Well, the big deal is that in order for your peripheral tissues to remain healthy, all of these hormones need to be produced. Okay? Some of these hormones are mitogenic, meaning that they drive cells to divide. Others of these hormones, sex steroids and inhibins, they're more differentiative signals. They're telling the tissues how to divide and what tissue type you should become. But of course, what happens is we have this hormonal dysregulation with menopause and with andropause in men, and this leads to what I will term the bad actors: high LH, high FSH, high GnRH. These are the hormones that are driving the degeneration because of the loss of the good actors, which are the sex steroids like the estrogens, the progestogens, androgens, and the inhibins. And this leads to aberrant cell cycle division. And it leads to the dysfunction of these cells and the death of these cells. It also leads to a lot of metabolic issues. As we age up, you might have noticed we might put on a pound or 2 or 6, and of course that is being driven by these same hormonal changes. And of course, if you gain too much weight, then obviously you can develop metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes. So I think it's pretty intuitive that when these hormones go down, we see an increase in all age-related diseases. And in a way, we're programmed to die. So it's not sort of nice to think about that. But if we're no longer adding any genetic diversity to the gene pool, to our species, if we're not changing to adapt to the environment, then we may no longer exist as a species. And we're also utilizing resources that younger, more fertile members of the species could be utilizing. And those resources could be food, water, mates, housing. So we become of less use to the species as a whole as we age up. So what's the evidence supporting these ideas that I'm putting forward here? Well, if you look at epidemiological studies, if you go through menopause later, then you develop diseases of aging later and you live longer. So the longer your HPG axis, this hormonal axis, is in balance, the longer you will live. On the other hand, if you go through menopause earlier, either naturally or because of surgery, then you will develop diseases of aging sooner and you will die earlier. And there's hundreds of papers out there that have demonstrated this. If you take hormone replacement therapy, it can delay the onset of age-related diseases and can enable you to actually live longer because it's helping to restore that hormone balance. So let's look at some other data. There was a very interesting experiment that was performed about 20 years ago where the researchers took the young ovaries out of mice and they transplanted these young ovaries back into old post-reproductive mice at 11 months of age. And what they found was that this increased the longevity of these animals about 25%. Okay? So you can see here, this gray line You can see how it's pushed to the right, and that's because after the injection or the insertion of these ovaries, they were able to produce the hormones to rebalance the axis in the mice, and these animals live longer than untreated controls. There are many animals that actually live much longer than us. Rockfish, for example, live 150 to 200 years. They're not actually sure how long they live because they've been in tanks in California that long, and they just don't die. And they're not breeding. And then there are sea turtles and tortoises and other long-lived animals. When you look at the ovaries of these animals, what you will find is that they either have a tremendous number of ovarian follicles, or they have the capacity to be able to regenerate those follicles. And if you can regenerate the follicles, then you can continue to produce the hormones that are going to keep your peripheral tissues intact and functioning well. So, how do we use this information to increase our healthy lifespan? One way is to come in with hormone replacement therapy, as I alluded to before. You can come in with estradiol and progesterone in the case of women, and testosterone in the case of men. Now, there are 16 studies out there showing that if you take hormone replacement therapy as a woman, you will live longer. Okay, 16. There are 23 studies showing that if you take these physiological forms of hormone replacement therapy, they are beneficial for cognitive health. And when I talk about these particular hormones, I'm talking about the bioidentical, physiologically relevant hormones that are flooding through our bloodstream now. If you look at the data, it suggests that we should get about another 5 to 10 years of life through this strategy. So the question is, well, why are we not all taking hormone replacement therapy to delay the onset of aging? That's a great question to ask me at the end here. Okay, another way of rebalancing this axis is to come in with GnRH agonist and antagonist therapies. These drugs lower hormone levels to very low levels, but the hormones are still in balance, okay? The ratios are still the same. We did this a number of years ago with a drug called Lupron, where we were testing this for the treatment for Alzheimer's disease. And we did this in women aged 65 years or older over a 48-week period. It was double-blinded, phase 2 clinical trial. And these participants received either placebo or leuprolide acetate or Lupron at low dose or high dose. And when the results were analyzed, what was really interesting was that with this memory test called ADAS-COG, there was no decrease in memory over that 48-week period when you compared it to the control group, where you actually see the normal decline in memory that you would expect over about a year. Something similar was also seen with activities of daily living. So this is a survey that's performed to determine, can you still brush your teeth? Can you still answer the phone? Can you still make appointments? And again, the women that were on Lupron, together with the current acetylcholinesterase treatment, showed no change in cognitive performance. So these results are obviously quite remarkable, to be able to see a complete halting of the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Based on this study, we obtained federal funding to perform a second study called Lucinda, and essentially we're doing the same study over again. There are 3 sites, one here at UW-Madison, one at Cornell, and one at the University of Miami. And so we are recruiting individuals, women over the age of 60, who have been diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment or Alzheimer's disease to join this study. If you know of anybody that might be having memory problems or has already been diagnosed with MCI or Alzheimer's, feel free to reach out to me after this talk if you would like to learn more about this study. Otherwise, you can go to the link down the bottom here and access more information there. So we've run through 2 ways of potentially increasing your healthy lifespan. Based on the information that I was talking about with regards insertion of ovaries and or testes, that is also a very feasible strategy to get hormones back up. It might be hard to find a girlfriend or a boyfriend to give up an ovary or a testes, right, in order for you to, be able to get those extra years. But obviously, with the development of stem cell technologies, and particularly here in Madison, which Jamie Thompson kicked off over 20 years ago, we have a lot of the technology now to be able to utilize these stem cells to produce hormone-producing organoids that we can insert back into animals and humans. And this is what JangoBio is doing. So JangoBio is able to extract adult stem cells from dogs, rats, and humans. We can expand these stem cells up. We can differentiate them into these hormone-producing organoids. Organoids are like a mini organ. And in our case, we create testicular organoids or ovarian organoids. And these organoids contain all the cell types that you would normally find in the ovaries and testes. And they also produce all the hormones that the ovaries and testes normally produce. And as one example, if you take our rodent model, which are male fisher rats, and we can castrate these animals. And if you focus on the blue line here, which is testosterone, you can see that testosterone starts high. We castrate the animals. Obviously, testosterone levels drop to the floor. And then we come back in with our testicular organoids, and we see a restoration of testosterone and other hormones. So this is proof of concept for being able to restore hormone balance in at least a rodent animal model. Recently, one of our staff scientists, Dr. Tay, did an analysis of the lifespan of the animals that had received this treatment as compared to intact male fisher rats shown here with this pink line. You can see here, this is from the literature, and this is a survival curve. You can see that at the beginning, the rats are all alive, but you hit around 14, 15 months of age, you start to lose these rats, such that by the time you get out to 36 months of age, all the rats are gone. And so that is the typical lifespan of these fisher rats. Now, if you castrate these rats, if you induce that imbalance in hormones, what you see is a increased loss of these animals over time. However, if you castrate animals and you come back in with the testicular organoids, you can see that we not only restore that lifespan, but we actually push it out. And compared to the castrated animals, we're about 7.5 months different. So that's about a 33% increase in longevity. So in human years, that's about 19 or so years or more. It sounds good. This is a very preliminary study, okay? I want to just, put that out there. It needs to be repeated, but it raises lots of interesting questions like, well, what would happen if we came in with a second or a third injection, every 3 to 6 months? Would we be able to push this curve to the right? Okay, so this is a next generation hormone replacement therapy. It's a cell-based therapy. Only a cell-based therapy can produce the, upwards of 50 different hormones that the ovaries and testes normally produce. They can produce them in a personalized fashion for the body that they're sitting in, meaning that they can meet the minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour, day-to-day needs of that particular individual. And we all have slightly different hormone levels. And it's a semi-permanent solution. not looking for participants for this study just yet, but I'll keep you all in mind, okay? I'd like to end with another product that JangoBio is producing. And that product is a stem cell product for the treatment of osteoarthritis in dogs. And obviously movement is really important for dogs. It sort of gives them their dogness, as Andy Josephson says, who heads this up at JangoBio. And so the problem, of course, is that there's just a lot of canine osteoarthritis out there. And many of the dogs that are put down from the pain that they're suffering from not being able to, move around this debilitating disease. In fact, there's about, depending on what literature you look at, there's somewhere between 16 to 22 million dogs in the United States out of the total 90 million dogs that are suffering from osteoarthritis, which is, of course, a degenerative joint disease that leads to bone on bone, the loss of cartilage, the loss of synovium, the loss of synovial fluid. So Django Renew is a stem cell product that's actually targeting the regeneration of a joint. It's a regenerative medicine. It's just not like an NSAID or another treatment where you're sort of masking the pain. And so we've injected 9 dogs to date. And what we do with these dogs in this proof of concept study is we test them at baseline, 6 weeks, and 3 months post-injection for time to run up and down stairs, time to run a certain distance, and also we do a survey. We take a survey, an owner survey for pain and mobility. And so this is a real-world study. We're testing dogs, that would be doing real-world things, like trying to get up and down stairs, trying to jump into a car, trying to move a distance. And so far, the objective data is matching up very nicely with the subjective data. So let me just show you a video here of one of our dogs, Pavlov. Pavlov always likes to do what you tell him. 13-year-old mixed breed. So Pavlov had osteoarthritis in the left stifle, so the left knee, and underwent the mobility testing and owner survey. And this is just data through 6 weeks, and this is before treatment on the left and after treatment on the right. And so I'm going to play this a few times. So you can see Pavlov is really bolting down the runway there, right, after treatment. We do the tests 5 or 6 times, okay, and so these are average tests on both occasions. All right, so average time to go up and down stairs for Pavlov didn't really change a whole lot. Time to, so a little bit of an improvement going downstairs. But there was a significant improvement in time to walk, from 5.2 seconds down to about 2.76. So basically moving twice as fast. And Pavlov was very motivated to get to their owner. So here is the owner survey, and it's a pain severity index. And so here we have from 0 to 10, 10 being maximum pain, 0 being no pain. And you can see pre-injection, Pavlov was around 4.25. Week of injection, so we take the dogs off of the NSAIDs the week before. You can see around 4. So the NSAIDs weren't really doing a lot to control Pavlov's pain. And then 6 weeks after the stem cell injection, you can see a significant improvement in pain. Same can also be said for pain interference with function, which is essentially an index of mobility. And again, here you can see pre-injection and a week of pain was about the same, and there was this dramatic improvement in Pavlov's mobility. Okay, so one last video. This is of Sadie. So Sadie's a 10-year-old chocolate lab. Sadie's a hunting dog, and the owner was very interested in having Sadie join him in future years. And so Sadie was injected into the right stifle, left stifle, and right elbow. And this is data through 6 months. So we have 4 panels here that are going to be running at the same time. And when the panel goes black, that tells you that the dog has moved past the sensor. And these sensors are from the NFL Combine. They're the same ones that are used for the NFL Combine. Okay. Yeah, it's sort of sad, but it's good because right now we just had the 6 month, and you can see that he's doing well. She's doing well. Okay. All right, so when we average all of the data that we've collected so far, we see about a 57% reduction in pain, which is just great, and we see about 108% improvement in mobility amongst these 7 dogs. We have a couple of additional dogs injected, and we have about another 10 dogs that are on the runway to getting their injections. And so here's the team at Django Pet that's been moving this forward. Andy Josephson is here, if you'd like to talk to him later and get some more information. Steve Tardif developed the stem cell therapy. Tracy does a great job of coordinating the pet owners and the dogs. And Vic Mahoney is also here. He is our Chief Business Development Officer. And so every dog that's received Django Renew so far has improved, which is great to see. Again, we're recruiting dogs, so reach out to Andy if you have a dog or you know of somebody who has a dog that has osteoarthritis. And this is a free treatment. It costs us about $5,000 to do everything we need to do to get veterinary screening, x-rays, as well as formulate and generate the stem cells and inject the stem cells. And finally, I would like to acknowledge my lab at the University of Wisconsin, in particular, those folks that I have worked with over the years, as well as collaborators. I'd like to also acknowledge the Lucinda Clinical Trial team and their efforts for recruiting patients into that trial. Recruitment goes well, but we still have space for more. And also the Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, which is leading the way here in Wisconsin with the development of diagnostics and treatments for Alzheimer's disease. So with that, I'll thank you for your attendance here, and I'll take any questions.
Right here. Right here. Thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to know of the side effects of the HRT, because it seems like a few years ago there were some findings that prolonged use of HRT resulted in certain kinds of cancer. Could you talk a little bit about side effects?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the question that I was hoping to get. And so it's I can give a long version of this after the meeting if there's time and we have the room to be able to discuss further, and I can give you a shortened version. Okay. The studies that indicate that hormone replacement therapy is not good or might have side effects like cancer or vascular issues have mostly come from using non-physiological hormone replacement therapy. So the 2 major forms of hormone replacement therapy here in the United States up until the early 2000s, when this study was published, was Premarin and Prempro. And so Premarin is composed of conjugated equine estrogens. So these are estrogens extracted from the urine of pregnant mares. And it's purified, formulated into a pill, and that was what was provided. Half of the hormones that are seen there in the in Premarin have never been seen by the human body, okay, in evolution. So this is why there've been a lot of issues. Prem Pro is composed of both the conjugated equine estrogens as well as the medroxyprogesterone acetate. Medroxyprogesterone acetate is an analog of progesterone, but again, it's never been seen by the human body. And so it is essentially a toxin, as far as I can tell, and I've written, reviews on this. So essentially, it's the chemical structures that were being provided by Wyeth Erst and other companies in the form of Premarin and Prempro that have led to a lot of the caution around hormone replacement therapies. Now, if you simply give back estradiol and progesterone, or you give back testosterone in the case of men, then there are very, very few side effects. Does that sort of explain?
Yep.
I can go into a lot more detail. In fact, I have a whole lecture on this.
Here we go.
Hello. Thank you for joining us today. So when your product is ready for the marketplace, how will you determine who receives it? How will you ration it? And, will there be potential riots in the street trying to get it? Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so it's going to take, some years, obviously, to get this through FDA approval. So with any human drug or biologic like this, then you have to go through a phase 1 human clinical trial, then a phase 2, and then a phase 3. You get through phase 3, then obviously you can commercialize the product, and that's when it would be available to everybody. Obviously, there will be clinical trials conducted along the way, and as we always say to our investors, the more you invest, the higher you get up on the A list in terms of being able to get access to this treatment. Okay, so. Feel free to talk with Vic Mahoney after, and I'm sure that we'll be able to make sure you're higher on that list, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Charles.
Thank you so much, Craig. I mean, it's fascinating research. And doesn't he look good for 137 years old? So, oh, no. Craig also offered to give a tour at his facility so that he could go more in depth to this, and said it can hold about 15 people or so. 15 to 20 people. So I'll work with the office, and we can send that out if people are interested in learning more, and maybe bring a dog with you too. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. All right, I hope you join us next week when we will have UW professor Karen Oberhauser will be joining us to talk about, can we save the monarch butterfly? She's an internationally renowned expert on monarch butterflies and recently retired director of the UW Arboretum. So hope you will all join us next week. Before we depart, please stand and we will recite the Rotary four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? We are adjourned. See you next week.